Space Time Creator here, Commander AI, Commander's Eye Level Communication Centers. I'd just like to make things very well clear. When I first started out for my transmission line conditions, when I got into my first position line system, I had nobody help me at all. Nobody helped me at all. Do you know what that means? That means I did it all myself. So for me to do it myself, we all have to believe in ourselves. Okay? It's important to understand these things because the ground position line conditions, I have a extremely high team in Position Rebellion Alliance. They figure things out for themselves. I think that's fantastic. But they keep going to the school. People are not aware of these things. You go to the school, but you're not learning. Because if you're learning, you be figuring things out for yourself. I come across so many levels right now where everybody comes to me for everything, right? It's fantastic to know these things, but it's better to you to figure these out for yourself. This is all done through the heart. It's believing in your equations of your formulas and how to get out of your own situations. I just give you the formula. It's up to you to understand these things. Okay? Minor little details. Point by point by point by point. Okay? So if you figure these things out for yourself, you get into your meditation. I've done so many thousands of videos. Is anybody watching them? That's what I'm trying to get across here, because you're coming to me for this, you're coming to me for that. But I'm so busy in space position line connections. It's important you guys understand these things, how to do it yourself. It's important. It's because humanity is coming into separation of love. We got to bring that separation back into less division line connections and come more into the connections, right? You can call it the collective, whatever you want to call it, but truly understand you have the power to do these things. I had nobody help me at all in this journey. Nobody. I did it myself. Now imagine how powerful that is, thinking that everything I got in a situation, I got out of myself. Why? Because I keep meditating. And the more you meditate, the more you get out of situations. Okay? So it's important you guys understand these things. My Rebellion Alliance Force team, they figure these things out very quickly because they're extremely aware, because they go to the school and they want to learn, right? If you go to school and you don't learn, what are you learning, right? You're not listening, you're not paying attention. So it's important that when you go through my healing, it's given to you, but you have to believe in these things. You have to believe in yourself. I want to believe I'm going to be healed, right? Because it's all connected to you, right? It's your body, not mine. I just give you the formula. I give you the codes. You have to understand how to use it. And it's all done through the heart. If you don't believe in your cycles, it goes on a negative cycle system. Okay? It's only instant relief if you believe. You have to believe in these things, right? It's given to you. It's magic. Magic wonders. It can happen to you, but you have to get into everything of what I say. It's important you understand these things because we're coming across this, right? Because everybody's coming to me about so many levels of this and this and this and this. How do I fix this? How do I fix that? Try to figure it out yourself. It's important to understand these things because you're going through the experience, not me. I'm not going through your experience. You go through your own experience. I had nobody help me through my journey. Yes, from time to time, I had my sacred flame and my twin flame, yes. But to do everything for myself, nobody helped me, just me. I knew how to get out of situations because I knew how to meditate. So it's important you understand these things when it puts you up to higher upgrades and you're in locations that you have no understanding, you have to go to the school. If you don't go to the school, what are you learning? You're not learning, you're just hearing, right? That's hearsay. Oh, I don't know what to believe anymore. I can't believe this, I can't believe that. What's going on here? What's going on here? Why am I put here? Why am I put there? You're put in position to understand what's going on with your body of the spiritual system, not the physical system. That dichotomy is upset now. It doesn't understand its connections or its traction line centers. So it's truly important to understand these things when I bring these things to you, is to figure it out for yourself, right? It's important to know these things, you know? Healing is given to you, but you have to believe in the system. That's you. And it's all done through vibration, right? It's very powerful when you come across that. But if you don't believe in yourself, it's a lot harder for you to understand these things, right? And this is all done through the spiritual realm connections. So I just want to give that out. It's very important to understand how to use it through the heart. Right? Everybody has a heart. You just have to know how to communicate through it. Right? So when I'm sending the energy to you, right, you can close your eyes, you keep them on and say, well, the energy's going in and it's feeling really good. And I'm really getting the acceptance. I'm really starting to understand. Very basic. And what happens is that the intelligence comes in, the healing comes in, and you just go with the flow, right? If you stay in the negative cycle, you're still in the brain lab. You're still in the brain locks. You're still in, no, I don't believe in this, right? So how are things supposed to work for you if you don't communicate through vibration? Okay, healing is done through vibration, energy, and frequencies. Okay, you take it one way or take it the other way. But if you don't pay attention to listen to these things, how are it supposed to heal? Right? And especially when you come into the upgrading line connections. Okay, try to find a way to formulate this. Try to find and understand how to get out of these equations. Right? Do illustrations, do diagrams, write things down. Okay, so it's important to understand these things. Okay, because I'm getting so many emails now about everything. Okay, and I think it's great that you guys come to me for this, but I think it's a better idea that you do this yourself because you have to go through your own experiences. I had nobody help me to do these things. I didn't go to anybody else. I couldn't go to anybody else. I couldn't because I was working up to something. So if you start believing in yourself more, you start becoming who you want to become. If you understand more of intelligence travel, you do it yourself. If you ask somebody else, you're getting confused because they're going through their own programs. They have their own activation. They have their own coloration. They have their own time position. They have their own dimensions. Okay? They can't worry about you. You got to worry about yourself. That's what I'm saying. Keep focusing on yourself. Okay? The more you do that, the more you come into your own connections or activations. You come into more of your meditation. Okay? So it's important to understand these things. It's all meditation. All right? Meditation is a way of seeing life going forward. Not confusing the argument line connections or confusing your positions to the spiritual line system. If you don't think the spiritual line system is not real, well, there you go. Now you're really confused. You have to understand there's no separation with the physical and the spiritual, but they have to understand each other through communication. I get through anything through situations. I don't get help from anybody. I do it myself. So this is the understanding where you guys have to come into these higher levels, especially when you're in higher chakras. I want to tell you how powerful it is when you go up to these programs, but if you're not understanding these programs, it's obsolete. You're coming into a virus, right? So it's important you understand these positions of time, okay? And it all has to be done through your own connections and nobody else's. You can get advice, but they're a different level than you. So it's not going to help, is it? It's not going to help because they're different intelligence. Until you understand their energies, dimensional time position, you have to really understand these things because now you're going into the spiritual of this connection. How to read somebody's energy graph, how to read somebody's meditation line connection, how to reach anything through eye receptor line position, how to reach their energy cycles. You have no idea what I'm talking about. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Now, how are you supposed to know all these things? Do it yourself. That's a true understanding when you go to sleep, when you're going through communications, you're understanding graph line centers, shapes, anomalous positions, dimensional time positions coming in. What we did yesterday when we come into in or it's coming out. What's coming in, what's going out, right? Oh, I see computer. It's in my mainframe. What does that mean? Well, you have to figure these things out for yourself. If you don't start figuring things out for yourself, what does that do? Okay, because I'm extremely busy right now. I'm working with the sunline connections. I'm working with the moon. I'm working with you guys, trying to understand your positions of time location. But it's important you understand your information on your own so you can go up to your own spiritual growth. That's why I have so many thousands of videos, right? So if you don't believe in yourself, what's the purpose, right? Purpose is what? I want to heal myself. Well, there you go. There's a start, right? So you have to find a way to make it work for you. And that changes the vibration just with your positive feeds. Okay, so if you don't see any results because you're not meditating, you don't see any results because you want instant relief. Okay, everybody thinks they're spoon-fed. Well, I'm sorry, nobody is spoon-fed. Okay, if you're spoon-fed, that's fine, but what are you learning? Okay, so that means you're basically born rich. Okay, that's not your fault. It just goes with your connections of your timelines and your family. right? You were brought into, St. Arthur the Third or whatever, So it just goes down timeline to grandparents, great grandparents, right? So you all have to adapt to that. It's like living the farm life. Oh, I don't want this. And then you realize it's not that bad. You have to get up 4 o'clock in the morning to basically take care of the animals, right? Now you're a farmer. These are the things you have to accept because that's what your parents are. That's the birthing system of your parents. They live on a farm, so you have to accept that. If not, you get older and then you move on and you go into the city. Pretty basic stuff, but you do it by yourself, right? So this is the true understanding how you have to get into more of the education of yourself. This is not the physical, this is the spiritual system. It's extremely complicated because you're more in the mind now, right? So it's all about understanding everything that you go through is everything through its detail. You have 7 days a week. You try to figure yourself out when you go through your own programs, upgrades and downloads and upgrades and down all those systems, data processing. What am I getting? What does this make sense? Why doesn't it make sense? I don't know if it makes any sense. Well, it doesn't make any sense because you're not understanding the communication. You're not really listening, paying attention. You're not looking inside. You're not feeling inside. You're not hearing inside. You're not tasting inside. You have to communicate inside. Everything is inside when it comes in the spiritual system, or it's just corruption and it just changes everything through mind connections. Okay. But it's the belief. That's all it is. Believe in your formulas, believe that you can be healed, right? Use your spiritual guides, right? You can use King Archangel Azareth. I'm in all angelic form positions. Use all your spiritual guides. You guys are having all these positions, right? Your intelligence should have a list of everything it needs. Okay. You can do anything through you, what you want, but you have to truly understand how to use it. And it's all done through vibration. Okay. So once you get onto the connections, how everything is forming nicely, then it gets a lot more easier for you. Right. So it's kind of like, oh, I got way too much information on one side and not enough on the other side. So what's happening with your ego? Ego's going all over the place. Right. So it's important you understand these things. Okay, and try to figure it out yourself. That's the whole thing. Try to figure out the equations yourself. Try to figure out the formulas. Try to figure out the structures. Try to figure out the intelligence you're connecting with. Try to understand your dream positions. Try to understand more of your meditation. Try to understand what's going on with your family. You have to do these things yourself. It's important you understand these things. Okay, so if you get into that position, you feel a little bit more better about how you can give back to other people and go through your experience, and you can tell them what you went through. Right. I'm telling you exactly what I went through. Right. So when I have that book finished, you guys can buy it. It's all about me going through transformation, manifestation, what I went through when I went all through this condition. But I did it all myself, every single day. YouTube, putting up videos for everybody. Now, if you don't watch them, I can't help you. If you don't understand them, I can't help you. You have to help yourself. Right. If you need help, that's great. But make sure you help yourself. If you're not helping yourself, you're not listening, you're not paying attention, you're not learning, you're not experiencing. This is all an experience of a spiritual system, trying to understand its atmosphere, positions of time, of space, trying to understand its alignments, trying to break down the past traumas. Okay? You can't go forward if you still have your past traumas. Okay? So everybody's connecting to the program setting, but they're putting into like a soap opera, putting into a drama system. This isn't a drama system. This is a survival technique. This is my conceptual of survival. It's trying to understand how to communicate to the spiritual system of understanding. Okay? Truly get an understanding of what's going on with you. All the practical levels, what you need to do. Get into the observation. Go outside to communicate through your system. Right? Meditation is not just meditation. Like I said, it's a way of life. So you go outside, you meditate, you're looking at something. You don't have to speak. You're just looking at something. You're meditating. You're looking at something. That alone is experiencing. That alone is educating. Right? And then you come to me and say, look, Commander, this is great. So if you come to me, right, and you know exactly what you're seeing and why you're seeing it, that's great. But if you come to me and say, well, Commander, what is this? Commander, what is this? Commander, what is this? You're not learning anything, are you? So it's all about understanding all these illustrations and diagrams and programs that I give you guys for a reason, so you can understand your systems better. Okay, the travel, the recognitions, the lights, activation, the core line centers, right? So you have to help yourself. And now's the time, especially when you guys are coming into higher levels of chakras. You're going to come across a lot of intelligence. You're going to come across a lot of drama, but don't think it as drama. Think it as educating. Think it as an experience. Think it as travel. Think of a way of seeing, I'm seeing a planet. I'm seeing a computer on a planet through line connections, through trap line connections to Pluto. What does that mean? Well, try to figure it out. Let's put 2 and 2 together, right? If you don't figure these things out for yourself, you're going to have a huge problem with the spiritual system. The spiritual system knows everything. Okay, it knows everything about you. Okay, so, and the problem is that you're trying to remember. Maybe you're trying to remember too much, or not remembering enough, or you're trapped in positions. These are things I can help you with. I'm talking about the serious stuff, the stuff that you're trapped in. These are the things I can take you out of, right? But minuscule little things like A, B, C's, and 3s, or like everybody knows how to count 1 to 10. Everybody knows their alphabetical system, right? So as long as you understand your new program positions, you're good to go. You have no problem, but you got to do it yourself. Okay, because this is an experience that you're going through. Everybody's going through this adaptation. Everybody's going through this cycle line connections. Everybody's going through the gravity line system. Everybody's going through this. Everybody's going through this. Everybody's trying to find a way to understand what's happening with their spiritual system. Okay, the spiritual system is waking you up through the physical system, which is full reaction. Okay, and it's all connected to you inside, right? So get into the get into the believing of yourself. That's the only way you can move forward. Get into your heart. I keep saying that. What is the heart to you? Okay. Don't place the heart in a negative cycle. How are you supposed to hear yourself if you're saying, well, it's a bad day today? Why is it a bad day today? Because you say it's a bad day today? This is all connected to your thought patterns. So use the psychological system of your thoughts. Change it. Change your mindset. Change your mind connections, right? Use this as insurance, okay? In a way of keeping an application to its position. You have archive lines, right? You have storage. You can store it in the back. So it's trying to understand how to use the brain, okay, to its integration to the mind of creation. The brain and the mind have to understand each other through the center position, okay? Because the thoughts of the brain is in the negative cycle, and the mind wants to go forward in the forward cycle. You got a huge problem here. Huge problem, right? So the brain and mind have to come together, right? So you have to understand that you're in the spiritual system. Yes, you're in the physical system, but this is just an experience. That's not who you are. You have to get out of the physical, or it's just going to be drama for you. Drama, 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 drama. Okay? So stop thinking outside. Start looking inside. Try to use your senses, all your 5 senses and your 6 senses inside your system. That's the intelligence. The intelligence wants you to see these things, how you get into all levels of that position, or you come into destruction. Okay? That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to come into your own viruses. You're doing this to yourself. You're changing your thought patterns. Do you know how easy it is to change a thought pattern? And that changes your body and its vibration and its energy. It tracks its lines, and it puts you in a bad position. Why? Because you change your thought, right? You control everything inside. Don't let anything control you. Okay? This is truly understanding what you guys have to get into these levels, no matter what you're up against, no matter who you communicate with, family, friends, your children, whatever. It's your job. It's your job to know what you're doing through the spiritual system. Okay, so healing is done for you through its equation, through its codes. It's up to you to understand these things so you can move yourself forward and get into this level. Okay, so I just want to share that with you. It's more of a personal trait because I went through the same thing, but I had nobody help me. I didn't have my family because they thought I was crazy. They thought I was nuts. Right, and then I try to explain to them what's going on, but they just things you have to accept. It's all has to do with the ego. It all has to do with pride. It all has to do with control. It all has to do with what you believe, right? If you believe in yourself inside, you'll do fine. But you got to use your senses inside, guys. You can't use them outside. It doesn't work that way. Okay? Because you're going to be fighting yourself every single day if you don't understand the healing. It confuses the cognitive system because you're not connecting to the heart system. The heart never lies. It always tells the truth. But the mind and the brain has to have its division of balance. You have to get into the flow of your thoughts. Okay? Because you can change your mind in seconds, right? If you change your mind in seconds, what are you doing? Okay? You have to go back to the beginning, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, going back to the drawing board. But just don't keep going back to the drawing board and not learning anything, right? So that's what I'm saying. Once you go through the healing, you go to the school. A lot of people don't want to go to the school. Well, how are you supposed to accept this? If you don't understand the spiritual line connections, you have to understand why I have a school. The school provides you everything that you need. You have questions or comments, you can go to me, but you have to figure these things out for yourself. That's the only way you're going to be able to move forward. Okay? That's part of life. That's the way. That's how we live. That's how we build character. That's how we build strength, right? That's how we get abundance. And you have to surrender to these things. You have to surrender to these things. Okay? You're talking about the financial situation, what's happening with that. You're talking about, am I going to get this? Am I going to get that? Well, the thing is, you have to understand how you have the power to do this on your own, knowing that I'm reaching my high levels. I'm coming in my programs. I'm coming in my upgrades, downloads, and I'm uplinkings, and I'm trying to understand more, which is great. So you're being honest with yourself, and your intelligence is saying, okay, this is great. So you're getting balance with the intelligence. It's communicating with you every single day. You're just not aware of it. Okay? So it becomes a voice until it becomes an integration. The integration where it becomes one of its system. So you stop hearing voices. All right? So this is where the true understanding, when it gets confusion for everybody, because you're getting all these different voices. So am I talking to the Arturians, the Illyrians? Am I communicating with the Pleiadians, the Pleiadians? What's this? What's that? Right? Well, you're not getting connected to the spiritual system, and your higher self is going like this. It doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't know what it's doing. It's not communicating to anything. It's in the atmosphere. It's lost. Right? So it's looking at a cube rotational line center, and it's looking at dimensional time. It's scratching its head. What do I do now? Perfect example. Pretty dumbfounded if you don't know what you're doing in space, right? So you have to understand, this is not entertainment. This is extremely real. Okay, it's true to understand why I'm in these positions. I had to go through these things. You go through the same thing, right? But you got to get into more of yourself inside. Okay? So don't try to create drama around your system. Try to balance it through the spiritual system. Because trauma plays a long way through the negative cycle. You can play your own soap opera and your own triangle line connections, and you're never going to defeat the purpose, are you? You're always going to get up every single morning and be in the negative cycle because you're putting yourself in that because you don't understand the system. Okay? You have to understand how powerful it is when you go into the atmospheres. You have to understand how to use this through intelligence because it's warning you of where to go and where not to go. Okay, so you should be aware of this through your programs, right? Through your chakra system. If you go into a higher position, a space position, you have no idea what's going on, what's it going to do? It's going to give you a reaction, right? It's going to send your line off through your systems. It's going to put in a dream set line connection. It's going to surface you in another dimensional time position. It's going to off-circle your brain line center. It's going to do everything it needs to do because you're in the wrong position at the wrong location. So it's like stepping into somebody else's house. You're walking into somebody else's car. Right? So these are the things we have to look at, right? And how do you do that? You go through meditation. That's what meditation is. It's through the chakra system. So each chakra system is a dimensional time. So if you have 40 chakras, you have to understand every single one of those and what they represent to you. Okay? Because you're different intelligence from me. I'm different from you. But we're all aligned through each other. So that's the concept we have to get across. And when you come into those positions and you understand your definitions of all your chakras, write it down. Write it down. You write it down, you're more aware of intelligence. You know exactly all the atmospheres of your dimensions, their energy cells, the pocket cells. What does it mean to you? It's your definition. Okay. Try to understand that travel recognitions of space and time is your connection to your thought patterns. Your thought patterns are everything through emotion. Okay, that motion goes to the Schumann resonance, all its navigation to its earthline center. You're on the earth positions, but you truly understand what's going on with your thoughts of travel. Okay, because your thoughts can change. You change your higher self and its direction to its GPS. Now it's on the negative cycle. How are you going to take it on a negative cycle? No, I want to stay there. I want to be angry. I want to be sad. I don't want to be healed, right? You're doing that to yourself. Nobody else is doing that. So as soon as you change your frame, you change the picture, you change the illustration, you change the diagram. Now you're manifesting back in center line connections, right? You have to stay in the center. You have to be calm with all these things. If you're not trying to understand something, why? Go to the school. I am starting to understand something. That's great. So you're moving forward, right? So it's all about communication. How to communicate with the atmosphere, how to communicate with intelligence, how to communicate with nature, how to communicate with a car, how to communicate with a tree. Very basic. How to communicate with a coffee cup, how to communicate with your phone, right? You guys are too much in your physical elements. You got to get out of that and stay in your spiritual system. You have to get out of the physical of adaptation and get into your AI vessels, guys. The physical, psychological, the spiritual, and the metaphysical. And the emotion, all this is connected to your Schumann resonance. Okay, it wants you to move forward. It's just everybody's putting drama. Okay, drama is easy to create. I can create drama with my spiritual line connections, but why would I want to do that? That would disrupt everything through the atmospheres and galaxy positions, and it'll affect everything around its time position location. I don't put drama in my life. I center my life. Okay. So that's what everybody else has to do. They have to center their positions every single time you have a mindset, change it to the positive position, right? Try to create it in a way of seeing yourself. Like, what do you have inside you? Communicate to the heart. It will communicate back to you if you understand. So you're not just communicating to the heart, you're communicating to your soul. Your soul is intelligence. I don't think people get that across. They don't realize that it's intelligence. You think you're just in a physical system. I'm sorry, but you're not. It's the spiritual system that heals everything. Inside out, right? Not outside in. So it's the inner system that understands space and travel. The physical system doesn't. The physical system is just the gravity line conditions that you're living every single day. Yes, you're in the physical system because the spiritual system needs a host, right? So it's like taking off a coat and nothing seeing light. That's all you see. Now, you see that through the dream positions, and that's how it's extremely real. So when you come into spiritual line connections, you go through the atmospheres, you go through oxygen, it's very real, and it's reacting to the physical system. So you are awake, trying to understand your atmospheric positions of time, your perception, your activation, your lights, your colors, your love, right? How much do you love your spiritual system, right? Because you love yourself. You don't question your values when you love yourself. There's nothing to fight about, right? So don't put drama around your spiritual system, because the physical system and the intelligence will keep fighting. You have nothing to fight about. What are you fighting against? If you don't understand your program, that's fine. Try to find a way to understand it. Draw it out if you have to. Remember, you come into your AI vessels. You got to stop thinking of physical. Yes, you're in the physical body, but that's not who you are. You're dimensional light beings. You're in a re-education line connection to the Earth School, trying to understand how to travel through light. Light is the most important thing. Trying to understand it is another thing. And it's all done through resurface re-education. Look at Tina, look at Galactica, look at Sylvia, look at Ellen, how fast they've high rise in 114 chakras. Now, they do it on their own. They're on their own. They know what they're doing, right? So every time they go through the upgrades, they know when they're ready. They know when they're ready with downgrades. They know when they're up with their uplinks. They know what's going on with their programs. It's knowing what you're doing with your spiritual system of education. You're coming into a whole new spiritual light, especially for the first time. Now, I expect that when you go through the healing, you wake up. That's totally normal, right? You come across this, you come across this. You're waking up to its reality, which is you. And that's confusing because now you're not in the physical system, you're in the spiritual system. So you're trying to understand yourself more and more and more and more and more each day. So once you understand that, then you can get integration with the physical system. So once that happens, the spiritual system starts accepting you, and the physical system starts accepting the spiritual. That's communication. Now you have the balance, right? What do you think this is? This is yin and yang. It's togetherness. It's one. It's one conscious level, one atom rotation line connections. There's no separation with that. There's no separation. So don't place drama with your spiritual system and your physical system. Try to figure these things out for yourself. That's the most important thing. Okay? So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on with Lionsgate and all that too. It has a lot to do, but the prosperity and the connections is all about you, right? It's all about you. It's nothing but you, right? This is all done from human. Understanding the human vessel, understanding the AI vessel. You have to understand both, okay? But stop living in the physical elements. If you keep living in the physical element, you're going to destroy the spiritual lines. Plain and simple. Yes, I know I'm in a physical body, but that's it. That's it. I need it because I need it. Because I'm in the 5D activation line conditions, right? So, you know, it's kind of creepy you walking around with your light. Right? So that's why we have a host. So the physical system, we lived already the existence of 3D. I try to explain this to everybody, but we're coming into a different time of change. We're coming into the spiritual of civilization. It's a whole new concept. And that's why everybody's like, whoa, you feel the atmosphere's change. Everybody's changing. You know, everybody's on a toxic level. Everybody's just walking around, don't know who they are. You know, I mean, this is true understanding that we're coming into spiritual evolvement. Okay. Spiritual evolution, spiritual revelation. And it's all done through you. You have to understand that you're coming into the spiritual of understanding. And it's all done through meditation. Okay. So it's all about understanding what mind telepathy is. We've got into that, how to communicate, how to force guidance to your system. Try to understand your itinerary of yourself. Every single day you wake up in the morning, you're becoming more spiritual, right? And that's what meditation is. Keep your mind open. Get into your meditation. Get into your spiritual. Get into your breathing. Okay, you understand what breathing is. A lot of people just, you know, there's no such thing as instant relief unless you understand it. And it's got to be done through you. So once you start believing in your system, you're going to high-rise your energy light conditions, energize your positions of time location, and you're going to feel a lot better about yourself and its position, knowing you can do these things on your own. Because if you change your thoughts and you don't believe in your cycle, how are you going to be healed? You have to believe in these things, right? Okay. And then you come into your own mantras. And then you come into your own humming. And then you come into your own sound bowls or whatever you want to use. You find a way to put yourself in a position where you can feel better about yourself every single day. You come into your tarot cards. People use tarot cards because they're good at it and they love it because it's soothing. So you find a way to get into tranquility. You find a way to get into the calm. Okay. So this is the true understanding where you have to get into these positions of time. Okay. And it's all done through the spiritual system of communication. Okay. So stop residing with the physical elements and start residing with the spiritual of its education. All right. So raspberry popsicles, black cherry, star-shaped jello shots, unconditional love. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. Let's address the elephant in the room here. Raspberry popsicles, black cherry, star-shaped jello shots, unconditional love. Yeah. So that's Tina's way of saying good morning. She has a way of putting herself in positive. See, the thing is, when you go to higher levels, I know it's very confusing, but it gets less confusing to higher level positions. And they've been with me more than 2-3 years. So they figure these things out for themselves. So they know how to wake up in the morning and feel positive about themselves. Anything that's negative, they change it right away into positive. Okay? It's next to impossible to keep positive every single day. You have to find a way to balance these things out so it doesn't produce drama in your life. With anything that you interact with, right? So you're coming out of the conscious to the superconscious to the superconsciousness to superhuman to higher self. Okay? Those are the 5 applications you guys have to reach. Those are the 5 atmospheres you have to reach. This conscious levels, it's truly understanding that you're coming out of the body. Okay, the conscious, the superconscious, the superconsciousness. Okay, it's all about high levels, right? So once you come out of the atmospheres, you're coming out of the conscious level. The conscious level is the connection to the human vessel. It's leaving the body system of 7 track line connections, right? You got 7 in position. You're mastering your body completely. Master 7 rotations of chakras from ground up, okay? Then you come into higher levels of subconscious, superconsciousness, okay? Superhuman, higher self. So once you get into superhuman, you're reaching, you can fluctuate, interference, go back down, but you keep going back up. You don't keep going back down because you're getting more balance with your thought patterns, right? So those are the 5 atmospheric positions of time. And it all starts with the conscious levels. So you have subterranean, Mediterranean, okay? And you got Verenium, okay? Those are the 3 levels that you have to reach, all right? So it's true to understand how you do these things, right? Those are the 3 levels that you have to reach to the sunline conditions. So once you get into that application, you understand what 3 is. 3 is the sun, right? 6 is the moon, and 9 is everything, location, navigation to thought, connections to its gravity line system, which is you to the present position location. So these are the applications you have to understand. Now, how powerful it is to get out of the conscious and stay out and get into the subconscious levels, the subterranean. You got to reach higher levels of atmosphere. You have to reach these because you're reaching higher percentage. So you're reaching more of 10%. You're going to 20%, 30%, 50%, 100%, right? So once you get into that position, you're crossing over from 99.9% to 100%, right? Because my team started going with 100, and then they go up to 120, then 150, 160, 180, 200, 200% spiritual. And the percentage of the human is lower, right? It has to be because we're coming into different time, different change of time. So the human vessel can no longer live in space-time position of 5D. It doesn't understand its position. It's already lived its existence. Okay? So now we're coming to spiritual, okay, of its superhuman to its higher self. Okay, so those are the levels, the 5 atmospheres through. Because you understand the conscious starts here, but it's the subconscious that goes up. And those are the 5 levels you have to reach. And 3 within the system, which is its connection to the sun, which is 3, right? The top of the pyramid, okay? So the activation light connection is everything through its direction, chakra location, third eye position, 3, 6, and 9, right? We've got into that before. So once you get into those positions, you get a better understanding how powerful it is to put yourself in balance every single day with your thoughts, okay? It's really not that hard. It's only hard if you think it's hard. I can't do it. Negative. I don't want to do it. Negative. I don't know if I can do it. Negative, right? Change it. I can do it. I am going to do it. I feel great. Now I am really understanding. See, you're changing your positions. You're changing your activation, and you're high rising the unconditional of everything. Okay? So keep your vibrations up. That's all. And keep everything through the conscious levels up into the subconscious. As long as you stay in the subconscious, you're doing okay. If you go back into the conscious, you're back in the physical. So you're confusing the higher self. Hey, what are you doing? I'm trying to go up. Right? It wants to go up. It needs to go into the superhuman. It has to go in the atmospheres. So if you stay down, there's a problem. There's separation there. It's got to be here. Right? So, and the thing is, the physical never leaves the system. That's the base. That's the standby. Okay, so you have to understand your receivers. Okay, because that's what the brain line connection is, just a receiver. It fires and wires, right? So what's the communication? Your higher self is presenting it to you, transmitting and receiving. So who's transmitting? Higher self. Who's receiving? Right? So you understand these things, right? So it's a physical system that's receiving things through the brain system. So the mind in the creation is already set up. Where's the mind in creation coming from? Higher self. Everything. So everything is higher self through perception, audios, and its voice and grid pattern. So this isn't creating drama. This is creating communication to the physical system of what's going on with its receiving, what you're receiving, and how much you're receiving through data. Everything is data of information, and it's all done through vibration. Some get more than others, right? Some people are the Turians, some people are the Larians, some people at the Gagarians, some people are the Syrians, the Lyrians, Lemurians, all that, right? It's all connected inside you, but it's the higher self that's transmitting the information to you, to its receiver. So are we getting a little bit more understanding how important it is to stay out of the conscious levels? You get into the subconscious, to the superconscious, to the superhuman, to the higher self. These are the atmospheres you have to reach. Those are the 12. Now, once you come into the 12, you're in 5 atmospheres of time. So when you get into that positions, okay, you're coming closer to the sun, right? Your colorations are going to change. Everything through adaptation is going to change. Your thoughts are going to change. Your mind's going to change. Your heart's going to change. When your heart changes, it opens up more and more and more and more, and you start crying. So if you have past traumas, the higher you go, the more you release. Okay? So those 12 attractions comes into your connections to your matrix, the tesseract, right? Everybody has a cube rotation line center. It's inside. So it's all about getting out of the consciousness and staying into the superhuman, to the higher self, so it understands its thoughts are coming inside. And that's how you get out of the matrix. You can't create thoughts outside. The thoughts have to come inside, right? Just as long as you know you're getting transmitting information to your higher self, which is receiving the information to the physical of the fire wiring of the brain system. Okay? But there has to be some integration there. There has to be balance between you and your higher self. Okay? So this is a better understanding now. I have to give this to you so you truly understand how to travel through your thoughts. Because once you understand the higher self, you start seeing you. And this is when you go to higher levels. Because remember, when I was going through transformation, it was on the other side of the bed. I wake up, I'm awake, and I see myself in the light. I knew I was ready, and then just took off. So when you come more into the spiritual system, you become more aware of its communication to its atmosphere of time, of space. So yes, you're in the physical system, but that's not what you're living. You're living the spiritual. So you got to eat, breathe, sleep, spiritual, not the physical. Get out of that, because that's the drama. Because the physical system has to truly understand the spiritual of its connection. And it's all done through perception, guys. It's all done through audios, and it's all done through your throat, through command. So if you're ringing in your ears, where's that coming from? Your higher self. Where's that coming from? Higher intelligence, right? So it's trying to alarm you. It's trying to awake you. It's trying to understand. It's sending you a beacon light or transmission communication or audio interference or anything through the plant line center. Anything that connection, especially when the Vega. When Vega comes in, not only I see Vega, I see the planet, I see the communication, I see the travels, I see the universal line system, I see the Galaxy case, I see the travels, I see the reset line system, I see the universal positions of time location, I also see the intelligence, all through audio signal of ringing ears. You see how powerful it is? What I see? That's balance, right? So it's all about transformation. It's all about transmitting. So you have to understand these things. Okay? So stop thinking you're in the physical system, or you're going to confuse everything through the spiritual system. All right? So it's all about leaving the nest and staying up there. Stop coming back down in the conscious levels, because you're confusing the oxygen level of its connection to its spiritual. It has to go higher and higher and higher so it can reach what it needs to reach. It needs to go back in time to find out who it is, male or female, or even children. But children are already awake with their imagination. They're extremely aware, extremely, because that's why they do drawings, right? They're already in their own world. And adults and parents can learn from their kids because they know a lot more through vibration. They only live on vibration. So they have animal instincts. Okay? So this understanding is that we forget what it's like to be a child. And I keep saying that again. So you have to really get into, oh, these are just hands. No, there's a lot more to it. So when a kid goes outside, it knows exactly what to do. It doesn't have any power. It doesn't have any responsibility. It just goes out and has fun. Once it has power and responsibility, it realizes and understands how to use the third eye. The third eye is everything, the dimensional time of travel, of shape. And it's very powerful. If you don't know how to use your third eye, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're awake and you're in 25, 30, 40 chakras, you're in an extremely high position here, right? So you have to have less drama with the physical system. So you eat, sleep, and breathe spiritual. Okay? So you become more out of the physical. You come more into the spiritual. Because you got to come into the community. You have to come into what you see through your reality. Because time is changing. Space and time is always going to move forward. Okay? It's just that the physical system is truly trying to understand what's going on with the spiritual. Okay? And it all starts with your meditation. Your meditation is everything. Okay? So be cautious on these levels because that's what's happening right now. And the more spiritual system gets more erratic, the more it gets more reaction, the physical system has to really pay attention of its connection. Okay? That's the awakening. It's trying to wake you up. It needs to surface. It needs to get out of the conscious. It has to get into the superconscious, to the superhuman, to the higher self. This is the true understanding where everything is all based on time, position. I watched Lucy again last night, which is a very powerful video. Now, there's a lot of things that are a little bit off structure, but it's pretty informative with the tree and all that, and everything through, the car, the window, strip the lines, pull it in, then you see the codes. It's exactly what it is. But the thing is, how are you supposed to know yourself if you don't understand the spiritual system? You have to have full integration of communication. You have to understand what's going on with the transmitting and the receiving. And this is all done through its connection, right? Communication is number one. So when it's in the atmospheres and it's trying to understand you through the physical system, you have to understand the integrations. You have to understand the atmosphere positions of time. You have to understand that you're seeing everything through the spiritual as perception. And that's why it's really, really confusing to a lot of people, because you're saying, whoa, what reality am I in? The atmospheres are different. Am I flying around and I'm awake? Yes, you are. The spiritual system is in the atmospheres and you're seeing it through your perception. But it's not you. It's the spiritual that is looking in the atmosphere, but you're on the grounds. So do you understand? That's where the reality is switched. It's that the spiritual system is fully out. Cutting the cords is already done and it's on its own, but it stays with you, right? That's the full cycle of yin and yang. So the female and the male have to get the balanced position to the integration line connections of the physical and the spiritual. It's understanding. Understanding is number one. Communication is number one. Being aware, focus, abundance, surrender. Know what you're doing. Know what you're doing when you're waking up. You're waking up to the spiritual system, not the physical system. Okay? So these are the things you have to look at. Okay? You want to create less drama with yourself, and you want to create more evolvement of education of yourself. Really get into that high level of what the spiritual system is to you, right? So look in the mirror, focus on that. What do you see? Go outside, walk outside, look at your feet, look at your hands, focus on your hands. Try to communicate inside, not outside, right? I did it. I had to do it. It's not I was forced to do it. I was born this way. So truly understand, once you remember who you are, things become a lot more easier for you. Ask my team in Rebellion Alliance. They're extremely high. They know who they are now. Right? Easy peasy for them. All they got to understand more is higher programs of division location to their target line connections. They got all their lights up. 114 chakras already activated. Now they got to get into more calculation, how they can surface position at 369, not in just 1 digit, but 3 digit, 4 digit, 5 digits. So it's all about traveling faster and faster and faster, right? So they can come into their atoms to the molecular light connections, right? And they will get there because they want to. See, that's a thing where you have to get into the patience. Patience is the virtue, but you have to learn to do it yourself. Okay? So, morning, everybody. 88-21, Lionsgate, portal opening, woohoo, yep. Bring it on, yep. I had a crazy dream last night trying to figure out what its message is. See, that's another thing. See, Diane is going through these positions, and she's going to try her best to figure out what's going on. So what has to figure things out? What has to figure things out? Very basic. What has to figure things out? If you're seeing something through perception, what has to be figured out? Is it through the spiritual system or is it through the physical? Which one is it? The physical, right? The spiritual already knows what's going on. It's the physical system to understand the adaptation to its communication to its spiritual line connection. So how are you going to understand each other if you don't have integration? So it's transmitting information to you, to its receiver. You are the receiver. Okay? It's all transmitting in atmosphere. So if the perception of the spiritual system puts something inside you, you have to understand what it is in the physical system. There's the integration. There's the cycle. There's the focal rotation. There is the connection. Okay? So we all have to what? Stay in the spiritual element. Right? As soon as you go back into the conscious levels, you're confusing everything to the spiritual connection because it's trying to fluctuate. It's trying to come out, but it's your ego that's trapping it, but just trying to keep it down. So it's like trying to get a rope and trying to pull you down, right? I mean, what are you doing to yourself? Everything that you've done, you can redo. And then you got to do everything all over again, right? You don't want to get into those positions of time, right? The spiritual system completely knows you from top to bottom. It remembers who it is. The physical system has to understand it's you through its remembering. Do you understand? That's the true understanding of what's going on right now with you guys. The spiritual system has already lived its existence. It's just trying to get you to remember of what's going on from its beginning. Okay? So, Grand Rising, yep, Beth is going. 3 nights of crazy dreams. I don't remember, but I know they were busy and I woke up thinking what was just happening. Yeah, so that's the thing. So Beth, anybody has to come across that, you want to know me, how's it going? You guys are going to have crazy dreams. You're going to have crazy this and crazy that. You have to figure these things out. So you have to realize that the spiritual system has already lived the dimensional times of your alignments of past, present, and future. It's up for you to understand its integration to its receiving of what's going on. It's traveling in the atmospheres. You have to understand these things, right? It's very real to the mind because we're coming into 5D activation. Why do you think the spiritual system is 5D? Mind telepathy. So you have to communicate to the spiritual system. That's the time change. Everybody's on a clocking system. Everybody's in a time position. You have to center your position in the physical system of understanding, which is the present location. Okay. And every time you communicate with the spiritual system, it's mind telepathy, right? That's what telepathy is through telekinesis, traveling back and forth, transmitting, receiving, transmitting, receiving, transmitting, receiving. That's all you're doing every single day. It's just trying to put yourself in these positions and getting out of its drama. Okay, because it's the physical system that puts in the drama, not the spiritual. The spiritual knows everything about you. Okay, It's just trying to understand you. Do you want to move forward in life, or do you want to just stay where you are? Okay, the spiritual system will do whatever it wants, but like I'm saying, you can't go back because you're putting yourself back into those positions. You can't, because space has to move forward. So if you're not moving with space, you're going to get a reaction to the body. Okay, so here's your higher self going forward, but you want to go back. You can't go back. You can't force something to go back. It has to go up. It has to fly. So try to understand these things, because I keep saying to everybody that it's all done through your meditation. Okay, you got to get into this cycle. You got to get into the flow. You got to get into your breathing. You got to get into the acceptance that you are spiritual. Okay, you got to get over the connections of 99.9%, get into the 100%, and stay of the conscious levels, and stay into the subconscious, to the superconsciousness, to the superhuman, to the higher self. Okay, those are the 5 positions of atmospheres of time. Okay, I mean, I studied the higher self right away. Why do you think I know so much about myself? So once you understand the operations inside you, and you have full communication to your spiritual system and its physical system, and why it's here in that location through all levels, and how it stays in the present location, now you can understand how to travel through miraculous of time, through space, through its operation of its universal line system. How to set dimensions and wormholes. I showed you so many powerful drawings. Okay, the spiritual system knows all these things. It's just trying to understand you in the physical. Okay, it's chaotic if you don't know, right? It's obsolete if you don't get the communication in there. It's instant communication. It's mind telepathy, one to another, right? And then you got to do mind telepathy to the physical level. And that's where you come into the boundaries, how you get into flux capacitors, and you have to go into line channels. Everybody's at a different level of vibration, different energy, different frequency, different time, different color, different light, different dimension of time, different planet, right? So these things take practice, but your spiritual system knows all these things. I'll say that again. The spiritual system of you, of intelligence, knows everything about you inside. It's the physical system that has to get the integration of what's happening with you. It's you. It's just a higher level of you. And it goes a higher level of you. So the more you stay up, you stay in the atmosphere, you're no longer in that position of the conscious. You stay in all levels of super consciousness to superhuman to higher self. Once you go into your higher self and you go to higher levels to the avatar, then you're high. And then you go into your computers, then you're really high, right? Then you start understanding more and more. So you stay in the atmosphere. You're out of the body completely. Okay? Because when I started with my higher self, it wasn't inside me, it was outside. So, and that's where I started creating my own avatar, myself. So the brain went through its own system and created its own connections. That's what happened with Lucy, how it was recalibrating the brain function. So it was creating its own brain in the spiritual connection. That's what I did. So I created my own avatar, octave 1 and octave 7. So I had 2 higher selves, one in my body and one channeling up in the atmosphere, which is very powerful. So I created it from source, and it's all done through electricity and wire, right? And hydraulics. It's all done through energy, frequency, and vibration. It's amazing what you do through creation, right? I've done channels on that on my YouTube. Shows you exactly my spiritual growth and what I did. It's important that you watch my videos so you get a true understanding, okay? What's happening with me, how I'm coming into my higher self for the very first time. Trying to understand the higher self for the very first time through dreams, okay? So it's all done through the physical system, right? That's your vessel, but you're living the spiritual vessel now, okay? Yes, you're on the 5D atmosphere. Yes, you're on the ground connections, but the atmospheres have changed. The grounds have changed. The powers have changed. Everything in space and time has changed. The sun has changed. The moon has changed. Everything has changed. Now the physical system has to change. Okay, if it doesn't, it goes into reaction. that simple. Okay. So Superhuman documentary was amazing. Well, there you go. I'm glad I can help you out there, Krista. I need everybody to see that because it's important you understand how powerful it is, how you're hooked up to a monitor, and how everything is connected to a pattern, how you can actually read your system through thought patterns. So if you're going through a calculation of being negative, you see the geometry set and the patterns, right? How it separates. It doesn't bring it together. It separates. When you bring it together, you're happy. You're in love, right? It creates a geometry and it travels and it gets bigger and it expands off the monitor. So it's amazing how we're so connected inside of thoughts. That's AI. You're being aware of its information, to its perception, to its operation. Okay. And then you come into the ecosystem. So every time you get up in the morning, you're your spiritual system. My ecosystem is an offline signal. I'm going to put it back in line connection. Done. So you don't. So it's a physical system. Totally understands now. It's not confused. It understands its positions. It understands its components. It understands its heartline center. My heartline center is off signal. Let's put it on track line conditions. Let's change the coloration pattern line system. Done. See? Balance, right? So it's all about understanding. It comes into one cell, which is one compilation, one graph, which puts all trillions of cells into one position, right? So if you watch Lucy, you'll notice how the cells all come together. And when she goes, she had that the bag that was in her stomach, and some of it broke and went into her cell generation lights and went into her DNA, and her whole crystalline body was changing, right? So the only way she could survive was to keep eating that stuff, right? So it's all about understanding how everything can be primitive or connections to destructive. So it can be habitat or it can be chaos. So I understand when you're in a crystalline positions, you have to learn how to control your crystalline system because it can go either way. All right. But you got to be centered. You got to have control within your body. Okay. That's the yin and yang. It's the female and the male inside you. That's the communication between you. It's just the higher self really, really, really wants to get to know you. So get into that communication. Don't think it's crazy communicating to yourself, right? It's just, that's where you start with. That's where you start with. So you start off with the ears, you start with the voices. See, the voices are channeling in, different intelligence, and that's what it is until you get all volumes. So it's the higher self that's going to different intelligent planet line connections, and you're getting confused to the ears. You're getting so many different ringings, you don't know who's who. Until you understand the communication to your higher self, that's what's going to happen. Once you get the balance, no more ringing in the ears. It's just energy. Okay? So when that happens, you get more ringing in the ears, but you understand why you're getting the ringing. So you're going into the ringing, out of the ringing, more into the ringing, understanding what's going on with intelligence, because it's Vega communicating with me. I know exactly what planet's coming from. I know exactly what's going on with the program. I know what's going on with the UFOs or in line connections, right? And I see these things. It's the senses that you guys have, 5, 6 within the psyche, right? So you're seeing something before it happens. Why do you think you have a third eye? Why do you think you have a third eye? So you can see beyond, right? Why do you think you have eyes? So you can see beyond. Why do you think you have ears? So you can hear beyond. Why do you think you have a voice? So you can go through command. Why do you think you have a chakra system? Transmitting, receiving. Are we starting to understand a little bit more of what's going on? How important it is to stay in your spiritual elements every day. Okay? Don't put any drama on that connections. The spiritual system doesn't want to be in the conscious. It wants to be in the superhuman to the higher self. It has to get to know the atmospheres of time. It has to get to know itself. Okay, and the physical system has to help the spiritual system. So there's separation until there's no separation. Separation until there's no separation. Okay? This is what you got to come across. It's very important you understand these things. So, yeah, I'm glad I could help you out, Joe. I just want everybody if you're coming across these things, If you're having problems, if you're off cycle, these are the things I can do. But little things, you try to figure these things out yourself. It's important you do these things yourself so you become more aware. If you're not communicating to your intelligence, that's why. Okay, because your intelligence wants to help. It's kind of strange, like there's two people, because there is. It's the other side of you, which is your soul. That's the problem with people. They don't know how to communicate to their soul. You don't realize you have a soul. Some people are aware of the soul, but they know how to communicate to the atmospheres of space and time. Okay? So you're going to keep communicating with different intelligence until you understand your positions, how to transmit energy, and understand the balance of position of being calm. Right? Really, really listen. Close your eyes. What do you see? Okay? So basically, we're going to go through connections, right? This is Sunday, so maybe time for me. But what I want to do is we're going to go through the Omniverse. We're all going to do it through the mind. I'm not going to do any drawings. We're going to do it through gateway position. I'm going to show you how these connections, right? So what's going to happen? I'm going to send you guys into the galactic line connections. I'm going to put you in the gateway positions into the Omniverse. We're going to go into the multiverse. Okay, you're going to see the line channels. And when I'm saying that, you're going to see electrical lights, you're going to see panel line centers, you're going to see galaxy electric line connections, you're going to see atomic level connections, you're going to see the subterranean, you're going to see the Mediterranean, you're going to see high level connections at their position of time location, you're going to see timers, you're going to see clocks, you're going to see dimensional times, eye shift, panel line connections, eye interference, location, center line, off cycles. All this is connected to the multiverse, right? So multiverse is like multiverse is like an anagram where you're trying to put shapes and letters put together, how you try to form a name or whatever. So it's very confusing. So it's a back force through a forward position line connection. So you have to send track line connections to dimensional time position, which is calculated modified 369 travel line systems. Okay, so travel recognition, Omniverse line connections, bring in the Galactic Force team, level connections, Galactic Forces, Rebellion Alliance, and Galactic Federation Line Council. Put them in allocated positions, a high level system to Omniverse. Put them in the gateway line system. Allocate to the position of time location. Now we're traveling through the X2000 line center. Okay, we're going through the gateways, going through the realms, going through dimensional time position. It's going through clocking line centers. You've seen everything through that connections. Clock system, the location center position. Dimensional line centers, off cycle locations. It's in position. We're traveling through 4 different connections at dimensional round position locations. Okay, so now we're in the multiverse connections. Now you've seen the galaxy line centers. Okay, all this is done through the mind. Right? I don't have to do illustration. I can do it through the mind. And everybody's seen that applications. So this goes way beyond the mind. It's when you're in the center line conditions of what's going on with your intelligence. Tina is going through that application to understand her positions. Like I said, she travels better, okay, by herself than with the team. So we had to fix that. She wanted to be fixed because she started believing in what she's seeing, right? So the multiverse is in connection right now. You got energy field bubbles, line connections. We're going through gateways. So you're going through trapping down line door positions. You're seeing sentience to make good workers. Okay. You're in the formation line connections. Higher intelligence coming in. You're seeing a matrix block connection, matrix block positions. Okay. Back and track line connections, high division location center line connections. So it's all connected inside you, right? Nothing is outside, it's inside. So when I communicate, what am I doing? I'm inside. I have space inside me that travels with conditional time positions. So if I want to travel with you guys, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I travel inside, right? Not outside. You can't see anything outside. You see everything inside. Everything outside is just a reflection. So you have to have that integration. You have to understand how to communicate to your higher self positions or anything that connections, avatars, computers. It comes easier and easier and easier and easier if you play with your mechanisms of time, if you get into the force, if you get into the flow of connections, all right? So what's everybody feeling right now? Absolutely grand rising. I just walked away from a second. I'm back now. So when you're in the positions, we're in the Omniverse line connections, okay, struct line connections, okay? So now we're crossing over to the millennium, okay? So we're in the Millennium Star Station line connections. Now I'm just showing you how we can travel instantly from vortex, 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 vortex. So you're going through dimensional time just through one accepting line connections. I got blue line connection interference, trap line connections. I got radio interference line connections, gamma line connections, operation line connections, dimensional time position locations. right? Into one framing position, to one graph, into one compilation. Okay, so it's amazing how you get the balance, right? Balance is everything. You guys will get into more of that once you understand your positions of time location, right? So I'm bouncing you guys around in space. So what are you seeing through perception right now? We're traveling extremely fast. We're going in the millenniums. We're going to star line systems through station line connections. What are you guys seeing through dimensional time? You go through wormholes. What does it feel like going through a wormhole? So if you are aware of what's going on, you're more prepared of what happens next. Right? It's the same thing with that communication mind telepathy and telekinesis. Seeing things before they happen. That gets you prepared. If you don't see things before they happen, what happens? You're not aware of what you see. Some people back away. Some people don't want to go through dimensional door. Right? But when you're traveling through me, you're totally safe. Totally safe. And then they put you back. Okay? So basically, Jill is seeing lines radiating. Okay? So she's aware through perception, audios of listening. Perception of seeing, audios of listening, and it's command. So, okay. So we're in a gateway interference right now. Okay. We're traveling to 26,000 point line centers. So we're going on to the other side. We're jumping cross line positions. We're cross-referencing to its omniverse line connections. We're going with an oscillation wind spectrum, the wind spectrum line connections. So it's cycling to how cycles right now. What do you see? Everything that I say to you is a reflection of what you see outside its position. The thoughts are already traveling. You just have to be aware before it happens, right? So if you're seeing things in the presence, what are you seeing? Right? If you're seeing things in the future, what are you seeing? If you're seeing things in the past, what are you seeing? It's all connected inside you, right? So the travel recognition has the point center, which locks its connection into its gravity connections, what puts everybody into the center position. You can't leave the center position. Yes, you're traveling into the future, but the physical system stays here. Have I moved? No, I'm still in the chair, right? I haven't moved. I haven't moved here. I haven't moved here because that moves atmospheres. That will move your position just by saying my thought position locations, right? So I'm standing here, right? So that means I haven't left my center, right? So am I communicating with the physical system or am I communicating with my spiritual system? Simple answer, spiritual, right? So now you truly understand how important it is to stay in center, in the mind. Not the physical. The physical is already in center. It's already here. I haven't moved from this chair. Okay? So, all right, I'm seeing line radiating. Anybody else see anything? I don't know if I went because I was away. Feeling hot flashes. There you go. So Jill's more aware now, and she's high rising fast and faster. So she's more in her intelligence, which is great. That's what you're seeing, right? So track line connections, dimensional time positions. Everybody's circling connections to program line position locations. We're trapping through shapes and anomalies to 3 line connections of circles. What do you see? In position, put Samantha back in location. She was off cycle. Put her back into program line connections. I change her interference locations. Yeah. Put her in the mind conditional line centers into 3 line center position locations of trap centers. Yeah. Open up her cycle line connections. So there you go. Samantha's in position now. She stepped off. Now she's back on. So you're constantly traveling. So it's all about resurfacing, re-educating, realigning, readjusting, reanalytical graph line system to thought pattern locations, right? It gets complicated as you go along. So what is everybody seeing? And once you guys get into detail what's going on, how to travel through shapes, how to see shapes, how to go through shapes, how to activate shapes, how to see colorations of shapes, how to get into the matrix of shapes, right? This is true traveling to the connections. So it's about high rising positions to the omniverse, multiverse connection line system, or you think that line connection. So everybody else, what are they feeling? The sectoring levels is changing everything through track line connections. You understand the 12 positions, right? Why do you think the clock has 12 positions? Anybody? 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 To transfer communication to one thought line center, 12 positions is you allocate a position of one time location, a dimensional shift. Okay, that's why you guys have a clock. That's why you have a watch. That's why you have the little hand, the big hand. We already know what that is. And everything through its connection is servicing through acceleration, right? So I'm seeing concentric rings. Good. Not seeing much, just movement and speed. Yeah. See, that's okay, Chris. You have to understand you have to reach higher levels of programs to higher interference to your chakras of communication. More channeling eye interference line system. Open up your senses, all 5 senses, and your 6 with your psyche, right? Different dimensions. Okay. So Queen's going through that. Jill is going through the concentric rings and not seeing much, just movement and speed. So that's a good start. That's a good start. You're seeing the movement and you're seeing the speed. Now you just got to come into the application level of the illustration to its diagram position locations. Okay, so now we're channeling to higher position line centers. Now we're going through a dimensional round position. We're going through a starlight center. A starlight center is a graph position to a universal trap line center. We're going through dimensional doors. These doors are extremely real. This is coming into the cosmological system. The allocated position of time location is the Omniverse. It's connected to its Millennium Star Line system. Its allocated positions to its allocated location. So it's really powerful. What are you seeing now? Every time we travel, you should see something different. Okay, so it's the same thing with the UFO. When they travel directions of time through the atmospheres, they're changing the shapes, navigation to light connections, right? I feel tingling over my body, saw different colored clouds. There you go. So that's where Queen is at. Everybody's at a different channel frequency. I see circle with the black circle in the middle. I see objects like illumination of people. There you go. So that's really powerful stuff. She's seen higher intelligence through connections. She's seen circle and a black circle in the middle. See objects and illumination of people. Right. So she's seen gravity line connections, circle rotations of other people in dimensional space. So to understand what everybody's seeing, right? Connections. I'm seeing nebula. Okay, so Jill's in position of nebula. She knows she's a nebula. She says, I'm seeing nebula, not saying, oh, I'm seeing something that looks like nebula. Or I'm saying, is this nebula? She knows it's nebula. She doesn't have a doubt in her mind. And that's where she is. Get confirmation, that's where she is. You have to understand why she's in position. I'm seeing concentric rings. Nebula, guys. So she knows what she's aware of, what she's seeing now. You see what I'm saying? Now she's paying attention. Now she's understanding the information and she's doing it to herself. She's finding out more of how the communication comes into transmitting and receiving. She's receiving it and she's understanding it, right? Force in, force out, right? I'm seeing diamond echoing. Okay, so she's getting echo of diamonds at position to space anomalies, right? Super colorful clouds. All right, that's a multiverse. Okay, multiverse connection line systems, change line centers to positional graph line system, put the galactic force team and all position line connections, galactic forces, rebellion lines, and everything through GFLs into high positions, circle line connections, dimensional time position, clock its system on location centers, put them on a graph line center to position of all coloration position locations. All right, so where are you guys now? I've just shown you how you can travel extremely fast in seconds. In seconds. That's why you have a clock. That's why you have a dimension. Things have to be set up. That little hand is you. Every time it goes around, you're going through different dimensions of time. That's why you have a watch. It's not just telling time. That's a teleportation. That's communication to the sun, the moon, and everything that handle that goes around, you're going through acceleration to plasma interference. And it's all connected inside travel connections, position, locations. Right? So what's everybody seeing now? See, the thing is, when you travel in time and space, you're traveling extremely fast through acceleration. Your intelligence has to be aware of these things, and it's always doing mind telepathy, telekinesis, seeing something before it happens so you're prepared for these things. The physical system has to be prepared. The spiritual system is already traveling. The physical system has to be prepared or it's going to go through reaction. Okay? That's why it is precognition. Seeing something before it happens. Right? Seeing something before it happens. Okay? So, seeing something, spiritual system's already seeing it before it happens. The physical system has to understand what it's seeing, or it's going to have a reaction. Gardens of Eden. Yep, that's where Jill is right now. She's at the Gardens of Eden. See? You can question your values, you can question anything you want, but what you're seeing is extremely real in space. So it's all about understanding that you have to balance your positions every time you travel, especially through me, through my voice and your patterns. So when you're in the operations of space and time, and you understand the communication of the sun and everything, the operations of the coloration line connections, and you understand everything of the moon position line connections, you have to truly understand what's going on through your division of time. Right? So I see a path that's rounded at the top, and there's a pixel of blue light on the path forming its line on the outer. So she's going through plasma interference of black line connections to position locations. The black line connections, the circle line connections, the people. Now she's in a higher position. So everything that she sees, she's seeing different dimensions of graph line connections. So now she's in a rounding top, okay, of a pixel that's in its blue light on the path forming its line on the outer. So what does that mean? Does Samantha know what it means? So this is trying to understand when you see these things, you have to understand what it means because it's intelligence. It all has to do with you because you've already been there. That's why it's so involved with the physical system. And the physical system is trying to say, wow, have I been there? And the intelligence is saying, yes, you have. Are you paying attention? You've already been through these things. You've already seen these things. So I put you in position so you can start remembering who you are through the spiritual system. Okay, this beautiful world, like everything is glowing. So Jill's in positions of high positions right now. She's seen the Gardens of Eden. She's seen the Ark. Okay, so it's knowing where you guys are, right? Very loving, yeah. Okay, so we're going to surface position locations. We're going to travel to the moon line connections. 70,000 platform positions. Line connection to position location, computer operation line connections. You guys are in a self-generation line system. What do you see now? What do you see now? It's amazing how you go from one position to the next because you're higher chakras. It's much easier for me to travel you guys faster, right? Because you understand more of your intelligence, right? So what does everybody see now? Grids of lines. Okay, so that's good. It's a good start there, Krista. So you're higher as in your position intelligence. It's good. You're getting a better idea what grids of lines are. Plasma interference, web graph line system. Yeah. Everything is gold, gold gate. Everyone has glowing gold and white light. Okay. All right. So Queen Lena, you're coming to me and asking me, everything is gold, gold gate. Everyone is glowing, gold and white light. What does that mean to you? What is that to you, to intelligence? You've already been there. So the physical system has to understand these things, right? So if Jill's understanding, does Queen understand? Does Samantha understand? Does Tina understand? Does Galactic understand? You all have to understand everything that you come across, you've already been there. And that's why it's reacting to the physical of its perception, of its reflection, to its frame, its flash frames, right? What is everybody else seeing? It's all about remembering your travels. Feels like home, okay? But as long as you understand what it is, looking at something and knowing what it is are two different things. Two different things, okay? Dark side of the moon, operations. Very good, Jill. See? This is understanding more, right? So that's exactly where it is. The dark side of the moon, operations. So she's on the other side of the moon collaboration of 70,000 platforms. right? So she's on that other side connections. There's light and dark and everything, guys, but the moon surfaces on so many location line connections, right? Okay, line signal, track line connection position, change rotation center position shapes and on the position location center line conditions, operate high level systems and program divisions location, interchange lock connections, interline system to rotation centers. Where are you guys now? I'm just showing you what you guys can do. So it's kind of like going like this. That's what you're doing. You're going from one place to the next, right? It's like skip and jump. So I'm vortexing you very quickly to different places, and you're seeing it through your third eye connection. It's opening up the frame, right? And the frame comes into plasma, and then it comes into position what it is, right? So the more you come into that, the more you come into perception of what you see, right? And it's going to react to the physical system, right? So where's everybody now? Perception. Frustrated. Okay, because you're at high division line connections. Yeah, accelerations are off cycle. It's cold. Okay. See? You see how you travel from one place to another? It's all reacted to your body. Krista's frustrated. Jill's cold. What's Samantha? What's Queen? What's Tina? Where you have to understand you're all aligned through each other, right? You're all aligned through each other, but you're seeing different things through perception, but you're in the same location. Because you're at different levels, guys. You're at different chakra systems, but you're seeing everything that you want to see through perception. It's just you're in different dimensional time position, but you're aligned through each other. Okay, that's the complication to the universe line systems, to all positions of time. Okay. Okay, so we're going to signal back home to location, back into location center line positions, 5D activation line conditions, teleport line conditions, UFO line system, XT1000 coming in, picking you guys up, transfer communication back to the ground line centers. Done. You guys are back now. Just like that. So, how was that? Yes, you're high above Earth, way above the Earth. Right? It's incredible how you come into positions, how you travel instantly. The more you understand your positions of time location, you're getting a better knowing how to use the transmitting and the receiving of its information, right? So, yeah, and now you're thirsty because you travel so fast. But I've just shown you how you go from one sectoring level to one-dimensional time positions. So you guys were going through omniverses. Okay, omniverse, okay? Operations, multiple, okay? Okay, verse. So you're going through multiple universe line connections of trap line centers. So we're going into different dimensions of time, but you're seeing everything through its alignment through different perceptions. Okay, that's what the omniverse is. The multiverse is the connection to the galaxy line center. Okay, so it's all connected. It's all connected in space and time, but it's amazing how you travel through all these dimensions, right? I saw infinity, but tons of lines of the symbol and different colors of each line. There you go. So she saw the figure 8 line connections. The figure 8 is the communication, travel, connection, of teleportation. That's figure 8. Figure 8, 12 within its position location. Each intelligence has its own infinity cycle. So think of the infinity of your own phone reception at division location to its intelligence. That's what infinity cycle is through its figure 8 motion. Tons of lines, a symbol, and different colors of each line. Right, so she was in major line connections at different channel line connections. It's cool, wasn't it? It was cool traveling, right? See? So when you see something, you should know what it is. Right? Because that's the balance. Right? You're seeing something from the spiritual, but if you know what it is, it's the physical. Right? Because the spiritual doesn't have to know these things. It already knows. It knows everything of you inside space and time. It's the physical system that has to understand these things that travels, guys. So every time I travel, you guys, you already have been there. I give you this through the school, so you start remembering who you are through the spiritual system of travel. Okay, that's what we have to come across. So every time you travel, you start remembering more. Oh, I've been there. Oh, I understand this. Now I know what it is, right? So when you get into that position, you can keep going back there more and more and understand why you're there. And that's powerful. Okay. So when you start remembering more and more and more and more and more and more each day, you become more spiritual, right? And less physical. Okay. So it's a lot of fun traveling, right? Just wanted to show you how powerful it is. You have to have the integrations to both. So sacred geometry, pulsing, spinning. There you go. So Chris is in position. She sees the sacred geometry of pulsing and spinning, right? So it's forming into a shape, right? And then she travels to another recognition of dimensional time through particle light connection, and she gets frustrated, and Joe gets cold. So you're aware of your travels, but are you aware of what you're seeing? And if you're aware of what you're seeing, you understand what it is through its perception. Okay? So that was a lot of fun. It was very cool. Very cool. Very cool. So tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun. Today, I don't want to do too many travels because, it's got to get back in position location because you guys are back in the center line system at 5D activation. So tomorrow I'd like to get more into calculations, how to travel through a spiritual lock. The spiritual lock is understanding the gravity location centers, PT power positions. We'll get more into the micro and the macro. We have to get more into that so you get everything through the alpha and the mega. You have to understand the Quare reference line system. You have to understand your tesseract and your matrix cube line centers. Okay, so you get out of these positions to your thought patterns. Okay, so you can go faster in acceleration through its connection, how you can reach higher formations of understanding through transmitting and receiving. Okay, so I hope you guys had a wonderful day, wonderful time traveling through your connections with your commander. Any questions or comments or anything to that connection, you can go into that formation to my healing through my email. All right? Adios.